Our journey begins in the late 19th century, a time when nationalism was on the rise globally. This was the era when the concept of Zionism took root in Europe. Zionism, a nationalist ideology, fueled the desire among a section of Jews to establish their own homeland. This longing led to a steady stream of Jewish immigrants making their way to the region known as Palestine, a land they traced their roots to. This migration was not without controversy, as Palestine was already home to a diverse populace, including a significant Arab majority. Then came the Balfour Declaration in 1917, a document issued by the British government. This declaration expressed Britain's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Thus, the seeds of conflict were sown, setting the stage for a century-long struggle. Fast forward to the end of World War II, the world was changing, and so were the borders in the Middle East. In the midst of this global transformation, the United Nations proposed a partition plan in 1947. This plan suggested the creation of two independent states in Palestine, one for the Arabs and one for the Jews. It was an ambitious proposal, aiming to resolve long-standing tensions and provide a homeland for the Jewish people who had just endured the horrors of the Holocaust. However, the plan was not accepted by all. Amidst discord and disagreement, in 1948, the Jewish community in Palestine took a bold step. They declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This declaration was not without consequence. It sparked a war, a clash of national aspirations that would echo throughout the decades. The creation of Israel marked a turning point, igniting a series of wars and conflicts that would continue for decades. The subsequent decades were marred by a series of wars, each shaping the course of the conflict. The Six-Day War in 1967 saw Israel's territory expand as it captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. This rapid territorial expansion ignited further tensions and paved the way for a new era of conflict. In the wake of this, the Yom Kippur War broke out in 1973 on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, when Egypt and Syria launched a joint attack on Israel. The war ended with a ceasefire, but not before leaving a deep scar on the region, further escalating the animosity. The late 20th century saw the rise of the Intifadas, periods of Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation. The first Intifada began in 1987, followed by a second in the early 21st century. The Intifadas brought the conflict to the streets, with stone-throwing youths coming face to face with military might. The human cost of these events has been immense. Thousands of lives have been lost, homes destroyed, and communities torn apart. The conflict has left generations of Palestinians and Israelis trapped in a cycle of violence and retaliation, their futures uncertain. These events, marked by blood and tears, deepened the divide and hardened the attitudes on both sides. Today, the conflict continues, with peace seeming elusive. As we stand in the present, the situation in Palestine and Israel remains fraught with tension, with the issue of settlements, the status of Jerusalem, and the question of a two-state solution all playing central roles. The settlements built by Israel in territories claimed by Palestine have been a major stumbling block in peace negotiations. These settlements, often seen as symbols of occupation, have not only led to the displacement of Palestinians, but also to a geographical fragmentation that makes the envisioning of a contiguous Palestinian state challenging. Jerusalem, a city of immense religious and historical significance, is another point of contention. Both Palestinians and Israelis claim it as their capital. This dispute over Jerusalem is not just about politics or territory, it's about identity, history, and faith. The concept of a two-state solution, a separate Palestine and Israel living side by side in peace, has been long proposed and yet remains unfulfilled. The obstacles are many, including the aforementioned settlements and the status of Jerusalem, but also issues like security, refugees, and borders. The impact of this enduring conflict on the people of Palestine and Israel is profound. Lives have been lost, homes destroyed, futures uncertain. Yet amidst this, the human spirit perseveres. In the end, the hope remains for a peaceful resolution that respects the rights and aspirations of both Palestinians and Israelis, bringing an end to a conflict that has spanned more than a century.